The following is a special presentation presented by the Forecast Media Podcast Network.
If you've been following my social media or even following my podcasting journey or even what it is that I do in my coaching practice, you will know that I do not play when it comes to my self-care. And like a lot of other people, sometimes self-care to me has felt like I'm being selfish. But something that I've learned over the years is that self-care isn't selfish. And I know you may have heard that before, but I'm here to tell you again that it's not. And if you really want to live a healthy, happy, whole life, it's truly essential to engage in self-care on a regular so that you can show up as your best self. And we're not always our best selves all the time, but self-care is a great way to help you to show up as your best self as much as you can. And in today's episode, I want to talk to you about how you can honor your body through self-care and give you some tips and tricks about how I do that as well. Welcome to the Rainbow Bridge Podcast, where we bring the Word of God to the lost and the LGBTQ. I'm your host, Nayshondra Mercer, a best-selling author, master trainer, and leadership coach, but you can call me Coach Nay. Each Sunday, we embark on a journey of faith, acceptance, and spiritual growth through heartfelt discussions, inspirational stories, and biblical teachings. I aim to bridge the gap between your faith and your identity, offering a safe and affirming space for everyone without judgment, fear, or shame. Join me as we explore the divine love that transcends all boundaries and empowers you to live life as your true, authentic self. Let's get started. If you've been following my social media or even following what I do in my business, you will know that I do not play. I do not play when it comes to my self-care. And the reason for that is because, like a lot of people, I learned the hard way that self-care is not selfish and that it is essential. And because of that, I want to help you avoid burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm by giving you some of my tips and tricks that have helped me to honor my body and honor myself by practicing and engaging in self-care so that I can be happy and whole and show up as my best self as best I can. And I want to give you a little bit of a background about this process and how I learned it. So the 4 ways to honor your body are to halt. And by halt, I mean HALT, which is a mnemonic or an acronym that I love to give and that I also teach in my I Am Seeking Myself masterclass as a tool that you can use to make sure that you're honoring your body. And as a teacher and instructor, I love to give my adult clients mnemonics and acronyms because we're busy. And whenever you're learning a new thing, sometimes it's beneficial to have what I like to call a handle for something that you're already doing, or to give you a handle so that you can learn something new and incorporate it into your life more easily. And so that is what brings me to HALT. I first became aware of HALT when I first began my healing journey, which was about 2018. Where I went back to therapy at that point in time in my life because I was navigating some very complicated relationships and knew that I didn't want to continue on the way that I was. And so I ended up working with this amazing therapist, one of my favorites. And the thing that I loved about her so much was, much like me, she was radically candid. And this was, again, back in like 2018, where, you didn't always get to sit with a therapist who was going to keep it real, right? And just be able to talk to you in the way that you want to be able to talk to them, right? Like, that's why it's really important to have representation in mental health so that you can feel comfortable speaking to somebody who understands your experiences and y'all's language matches, right? And so this therapist was that for me. And she was the first time that I had that kind of radical candor. And the thing that I loved about her so much was that she also provided resources within her business for her clients. And she shared with me this mnemonic, HALT. And HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And I learned during my time working with this particular therapist that a lot of the issues that we feel as humans, and by feel, I mean within our bodies, energetically, is because of these four things of either being hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And HALT is a great way to get you to slow down, take stock of where you are in any given moment to determine, are there physiological needs that your body has that it's not being met? And because your body isn't getting what it needs, and the body keeps the score, one of my favorite books, if you've never read it, a little shameless plug there. Because the body keeps the score, it can cause you to experience irritability, depression, or anxiety in your life if you don't address the needs of your body. And HALT is a great way to remember this. And that is why I teach it here, and also why I teach it in my I Am Seeking Myself Masterclass. And so I want to get into how to honor your body using these four ways of HALT. And so HALT, again, stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And it's really simple. Whenever you begin to feel or notice that something with you is not quite the way you want it to be, you're a little off today, your vibe isn't vibing, you feel emotional, you feel overwhelmed, whatever it is, take a moment and HALT and ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? And am I tired? And once you've gone through that list, make a conscious decision now about what it is that you need to do for yourself and for your body in order to honor yourself. And so how I honor my body using HALT is by doing just that. I woke up this morning and felt heavy. Physiologically, I've got a little bit of an infection that I'm fighting in my body, and I'm on an antibiotic. So I know that that's why I'm feeling a little crunchy. But HALT still makes me HALT. And even if I know where a feeling might be coming from, I still go through HALT. And so when I woke up this morning, first thing was like, yeah, you want to make sure you get some food so you can take this medication so you can fight this infection in your body and feel better. And then asking myself, am I angry? And sometimes I am. And sometimes being hungry and being angry are intertwined with me. And that may be the same for you too. And that just translates to your girl gets hangry, right? Like, I love that the first letter in these four ways of honoring your body is to check if you're hungry, because that's a very basic human need, right? Here comes a social worker in me. We all deserve food, clothing, shelter, access to medical care, and education, right? And so of that very first thing, are you hungry, sis or bro, mom or dad, husband or wife, teacher or mother? Are you hungry? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you giving your body the fuel that it needs so that it can do for you what you would like for it to do? Second, are you angry? And a lot of times, if you're anything like me, being hungry will make you feel angry. I get irritable if I'm hungry, child. I'm just going to keep it a band with y'all. Like, I'm one of those people, if I know that I'm getting ready to go out in a group, or if I'm going to go travel or do something with anyone, I always make sure that I eat or I bring my snacks first. Because if I sit around waiting to go to brunch with friends, and Jesus, I'm in Atlanta. So depending on how that go, you could be waiting for like an hour and a half to get your reservation if you didn't make one, or sometimes even if you did. And so, waiting to eat can make you irritable. And so the attitude that you're going to give off is not based on anything other than the fact that you have physiological needs that your body needs to address. And so I'm always asking myself, am I hungry? And then am I angry? The next thing is, are you lonely? Now, this one is a little bit tricky because a lot of humans don't want to admit that we feel lonely. Maybe you're like me. I'm an Army brat and I grew up moving around a lot as a kid. And I've also moved around a whole lot as an adult. It just feels comfortable to me in my nervous system. And there are times where I want to move when I don't need to. And I have to check in with myself and tell myself, this isn't necessary right now. But that's just what feels natural to me because that's always been my life. But in being the type of person that moves around a lot, I'm always making new connections, which means that I'm always losing connections. And so it can be really easy to feel lonely sometimes if you're separated from your family or your friends, or even during the time when we were all quarantined and we felt what that looked like, right? And so it's always important to look at, are you lonely? And you want to look at lonely as more than just, I miss my mom, my dad, my family, my this, my that, whatever. Sometimes the loneliness manifests in your body as something else. And usually that something else is impacted through your libido. Hang out with me here. Yes. Sometimes it's not that you actually are feeling desire. I'm going to keep it a band. You may not actually really be horny. You might just be lonely. And for those of you who are new to your self-love journey, or new to rediscovering yourself, or new to seeking your most authentic self, sometimes we manifest our loneliness in our horniness, and we end up collecting a lot of bodies, right? And it's important to sit back and ask yourself, are you lonely, and where are these feelings coming from? And are they legitimate or not? Right? And especially taking note if it seems that every time you're lonely, your libido, tongue-tied there, your libido feels like it's been impacted. That's a conversation that I had with a client recently, and it just blew their minds that the lonely feelings that they were feeling did make them feel their libido in a different kind of way. And recognizing the connection between the two helped them to make a conscious decision about what to do, or rather what not to do, with the spike in their libido that they were feeling. And they were able to make a conscious decision not to engage in that kind of behavior with somebody, versus subconsciously doing what always feels good and succumbing to that loneliness feeling, and then ending up sleeping with people that you would otherwise not want to have a sexual relationship or intimate encounter with. And HALT is very, very powerful for even helping you to address the basic human needs of our bodies wanting pleasure, right? Food, clothing, shelter, education, access to healthcare. And yes, our bodies do deserve pleasure. And so using HALT will help you to determine whether your feelings of loneliness are legitimate or not. Now, if they are, and let's say you're in a situation where you're in a covenant relationship, you're married, and you and your partner are, separated for any point in time, them feelings, if that's what you got in that moment, hey, more power to you. You love them, they love you. And when y'all get back together, I'm sure you will handle your business. But it works in either situation, right? Whether you are in a covenant relationship, or even if you're not, and you want to make sure that you keep your libido in check, HALT is a great way to help you to do that. And lastly, are you tired? Listen, honey, one thing about me, I'm good for a nap. I'm good for a nap. And when I work from home, I embrace taking naps because I realized how much better I felt mentally and emotionally if I was able to just close my eyes for 15 minutes between calls, or sit outside for like 20 minutes and just soak up the sun rays and get some vitamin D and recharge my melanin, right? And begin to feel more energetic. So just asking yourself the question, are you tired? And because I'm a Black woman and I create courses and programs specifically for Black women, I'm here to tell you that when a Black woman is tired, tired equals mad. And when we are mad because we feel like we have to do everything by ourselves. So are you tired? Do you need a nap, or do you need help with delegating tasks? Because you having too much on your plate is what's causing you to be tired. And all you have to do is be able to communicate what you need in a moment enough to get what you need, right? And so HALT is perfect, a great way, as 4 ways to honor your body. Now that you know what HALT is, those are the 4 ways that you can honor your body. And I also want to tell you the 4 ways in which I honor my body. And the first one is, yes, using HALT. Halt is the number one way in which I honor my body. I check in to make sure that my body has what it needs at all times. And if it doesn't, I supplement that with what it needs. I also have a dedicated self-care practice. There are certain things that I like to do consistently. And as a coach, there are some coaches who will tell you that you don't need to be the kind of person that checks off a list in order to feel like you have grown in your life. But if you are the kind of person who has mental health challenges like myself, and especially if you tend to be more anxious or high energy, sometimes having a routine and having a checklist is exactly what you need, right? Because especially if you operate the way that I do, and if you have a neurospicy brain like myself as neurodivergent, getting these things out of my head and onto paper and then later checking them off is exactly what helps my mental health. I know what I need to do. I manifested it by taking it from my mind and putting it in the 3D by writing it down and bringing it into this natural world so that I can see it. And then I make a commitment to the tasks by carrying them out, doing what is on the list, and then coming back and checking that off my list. And for me, when my brain sees that I took a thought and I materialized it, and then I acted out on that thought, I love to be able to come back and see that I checked that off, because it tells my mind and it tells me that I am staying true to what it is that I said I was going to do for myself. And that is how I've been able to build up my own confidence. Self-confidence is the confidence that you can do a thing because you've done it before and you've done it successfully enough that you know you can do it again. And so for me, a lot of my self-confidence comes from my ability to take care of myself. So that's a way that I use HALT to take care of myself. Another way that I use HALT to help take care of me is by teaching other people. So what I'm doing right now here with you on this podcast, and also what I do when you come through any of my I Am programs, I have found that in regulating self and growing enough awareness around myself, around Nayshondra, and knowing how I feel and what my body needs allows me to also be able to recognize those needs in other people. So now I've taken my own self-awareness and I've grown it into this new level of emotional intelligence where now I can empathize with other people because I understand what they're going through. And then I can practice listening to them when needed, so that if there's a way that I can help them where they are, then I can choose to step into that space or not. And so these are great ways that HALT has been able to help me on my self-care journey. And what I have learned by using HALT is that I used to think that not honoring my body and not honoring self-care would put a wedge between me and the people that I loved, because I felt like they thought that I would be selfish, that I was being selfish or acting in selfish ways. But what I learned was not honoring my body and not putting in these boundaries using HALT around myself and recognizing the boundaries in other people was not helping me and was not serving me. And those were the things that were leading me to burnout. And that is why I came here to tell you today what you can do so that doesn't happen to you, right? And of course, as always, you guys know that I love to root everything that I do and, let you know where my beliefs come from as far as how I'm navigating my mental health and bridging the gap between my mental health and my faith. And everything about HALT comes up for me in the Bible, of course. And I'm in the book of Mark, chapter 14, where Jesus has just done the Last Supper and he's preparing to be crucified. He knows he's going to be betrayed soon. And before he goes to that betrayal, he goes off to pray. And when he goes off to pray, he takes with him his top three disciples, Peter, James, and John, right? And so the text tells us they went to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and Jesus said, "Sit here while I go and pray." He took Peter, James, and John with him, and he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went on a little further and fell to the ground. He prayed that if it were possible, the awful hour awaiting him might pass. And the awful hour, he means being crucified. Jesus says, verse 36, Abba, Father, he cried out, everything is possible for you. Please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, Simon, Peter, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Now I want to pause there. Two things that Jesus says in this that have always resonated with me is verse 34, where he says to the disciples, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. And the part about that resonates with me so much is because I'm a self-proclaimed empath. And by that just means I know what it means to feel pain. I literally feel other people's pain. If I'm in your presence, I can feel your energy. And there's science to back this up. So if you're the kind of person who is also in the word, but you struggle between what the word says and the fact that science is real, you can look it up. But science does show us that there are people who are able to mirror other people's emotions and that they are able to feel others' emotions and absorb them from them. And those people are called empaths. And I would argue that Jesus was the ultimate empath, and he felt the energies and the suffering of everybody in the world, which is why he said, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. And when I read that, I felt that. Because as a former social worker and as an empath and as a woman who dedicated more than a decade working with children and families in foster care, my soul has grieved so much for the world. And I have felt sick because of it. And not having anywhere to go or not knowing who else to speak to about these sorts of like really heavy, deep spiritual feelings, the only place that I could turn to was the word. And I looked to Jesus because, according to history, he's the perfect human. He made the ultimate sacrifice. And because he was all God and all man, he knows exactly what man is going through. So he's the best person to empathize with somebody who has big feelings, such as myself, or if that's you. And according to Jesus, he even felt like he wanted to die at times because he was so overcome with the suffering of the world. And he even prayed to the Lord and asked that he would take that cup from him, this cup of suffering for others, but saying, God, let your will be done and not mine. And so what we see here is Jesus takes Peter, James, and John with him to go pray. He says, hey, stay here and take watch. I'm going to go pray. So Jesus goes and prays because he's warring in the spirit about what's getting ready to happen to him, which is his crucifixion and death. And when he comes back, he sees that everybody is asleep. So on verse 39, we see, then Jesus left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. Oh, excuse me. Let me back up. Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, Simon Peter, are you asleep? Couldn't you even watch with me 1 hour? Okay, we read that. 38, keep watch and pray so we won't give into temptation. All right, verse 39. Then Jesus left them again and prayed the same prayer as before. So Jesus goes back off. He tells them, Peter, James, and John, y'all sit here, y'all watch. I'm going to go pray. Comes back an hour later, and when he returned to them, verse 40, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't keep their eyes open, and they didn't know what to say. When he went to them the third time, this is Jesus, go ahead and sleep, have your rest. But no, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Let's get up. Let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here. And so what we're seeing here is 3 times Jesus is like, I'm going to go pray. Y'all sit here and watch. And each time he comes back, Peter, James, and John knocked out sleep. And Jesus kind of rebukes them. And he's like, hey, you can't even stay up for an hour. Like, sit here and watch while I go pray. And he does this 3 times. And each time he comes back and the disciples are asleep. And see, the Holy Spirit revealed this to me as I began recording this episode or right before. Peter, James, and John weren't doing anything but honoring their bodies. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. They've been traveling all around the world with Jesus as his following. And because we are human, we need sleep. We need rest. We need food. We need certain things. And if we don't honor our bodies will shut us down. And even though we may have a spirit that is strong and kicking, our spirit will always outlast our bodies. And we see that even here where Jesus says in Matthew 14, verse 38, keep watch and pray so that you will not give into temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. And that's why we have to honor our bodies, because our bodies are weaker than our spirits. You know why you get up every day. You know why you do what you do. You know why you hustle, why you grind, why you work, why you entrepreneur, why you mother, why you father. You know why you do what you do. And that is your spirit. And your spirit is eternal, according to the words that are in the pages of this book. But your body is not. And that is why we have to honor our bodies no matter what we do, because our bodies need rest. And while Peter, James, and John were resting, Jesus was not honoring his body in that moment because he was warring in the spirit. And when you're in the spirit, sometimes you don't need the same things that you need, that your body normally needs. You know, like that's why we fast. When you fast, you realize how much you do and don't need food, right? Whatever it is that you decide to fast on, you begin to test what it is your body truly needs or not. And that's how you'll know. But your spirit is going to always want to outlast your body. And that's the reason why it is very important to honor your body. And these are 4 easy, simple ways that you can honor your body. Learning to halt by checking if you're hungry, if you're angry, if you're lonely, and if you're tired. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Thank y'all for being here for another episode of the Rainbow Bridge. I can't tell you how happy I am to be back and to be recording content and to be able to connect with you all. So thank you for joining me today on this episode of the 4 ways to honor your body. And I hope that you take halt with you and today and in all the days that follow so that you can continue to honor your body. If you're like me and you need a little bit of help, sometimes balancing out, navigating the world and making sure that you're honoring your body so that you can show up as your most secure and confident self, I'm always here for you. Check the show notes so that you know where to reach me. Find me on my website so that you can book a free strategy call so we can get you to add more halt and self-care into your life. Until then, my friends, until next week, be safe, be well.
This has been a Forecast Media Podcast Network presentation. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. For more information and more great Forecast Media content, visit pushplaypods.com.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Want to make a difference in your community but not sure how? Go to GoFundMe.com right now and start a GoFundMe. Seriously. Your next fundraiser doesn't have to start in a school parking lot or a church basement. You can start a GoFundMe today in just minutes. Fundraise for yourself, a friend or family member, or an organization. All that matters is that you care about them. GoFundMe is the trusted place to fundraise for what you care about. With no pressure to hit your fundraising goal, but tons of tools to help you reach it, you can confidently start fundraising right now. Whether it's creative, local, or critical, your cause matters. And there's a reason why GoFundMe is backed by millions and chosen by fundraisers everywhere. It works, and it matters. GoFundMe helps you make a real difference. Start your GoFundMe today at GoFundMe.com. That's GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com. This is a commercial message brought to you by GoFundMe.